Welcome back to FilmReal, the show where we make movie reviews.
So you don't have to.
I'm Luke.
And I'm Nick.
And today we're going to be talking about the movies you've missed and the movies you can look forward to in 2019. Alright, let's get into it. So, the movies that have happened so far, and the movies that you might have missed, that we're going to be talking about, are Spider-Man Far From Home, Captain Marvel, Avengers Endgame, which are three big movies, all by Marvel, that have really been monumental for their year, closing out that saga. And then we're going to go into How to Train Your Dragon 3 and Hobbs and Shaw. So, without further ado, Captain Marvel. What did you think of the movie?
I liked Captain Marvel a lot, actually. Especially, you have to remember when it came out. It was like the last one the last Marvel movie right before like Endgame peaked, right? Mm. So it was kind of like a preview of this new character that you knew was coming in Endgame later. And I like a good origin story. Like it was a good movie. I know she took a lot of criticism for her performance. Brie Larson did of Captain Marvel, but I liked it. It was a good movie.
Yeah, I think that the story was good. I think that it really tied in very well to like where was the Tesseract between Captain America and the first Avengers movie. Mm-hmm. Like how did it get into S.H.I.E.L.D. possession and everything. And it also showed how she comes back into the movies for Endgame. Like with the whole pager thing.
I could have done with less like alien backstory.
Yeah, there was a lot of deep dive into the scrolls and everything.
Yeah. Who cares?
That you really don't need that much of it. And you could have just done her story, finding out who she is, with just having a little bit of them. But they really leaned hard into that, which does make sense because they come back in Spider-Man Far From Home, which is a perfect segue into that movie.
Right. Well, shouldn't we do Avengers Endgame next, though?
That makes sense. Yeah. You're right. So, Avengers Endgame, I think it goes to say that, like, we don't even need to say anything. It was just like one of the biggest movies.
Yeah, the pinnacle of what Marvel has been building to for all these years, like, with all these movies.
Yeah, a 3-hour movie to close out everything, to really show that, like, what they've been working towards for, 11 years now?
Yeah.
Has paid off.
23 movies, something like that? 22 movies?
Yeah, 20 movies. Yeah. And with all like the small details, like people are now picking apart Endgame and picking apart the other movies and saying like how many small details they have. Mm-hmm. Really shows like that they've been planning this thing from the very beginning. Like when Iron Man 1 hit theaters, they were like, all right, Avengers Endgame, let's go.
Yeah, and especially with like the details that they get into, even within Endgame of like, because they have so many characters in that movie where they have to account for like where they are or like what like where they were when the snap happened in Infinity War. And I think that was like one of the things I remember after I watched it taking away from that movie was like, oh, so I think my biggest beef with that whole movie was that the end scene where Peter Parker goes back to high school and it's like, oh, so every single kid in his class was snapped?
Yeah.
Or like didn't age at all?
Yeah, and that whole thing is really confusing because then you get like all these people that are still aging, like Morgan Stark, she didn't exist. She now exists, and so everyone that wasn't there for that 5 years is just coming in just like...
So clearly time passed for those that survived the snap, but it's just a weird, like, seemed like every character that you know from the Spider-Man movie, the first Spider-Man movie, like, seemed to have been snapped with Peter Parker because they're all in the same grade in high school. And is that weird? Like, kids that were in, fourth grade are now their classmates.
Yeah, and that was one of the first things. That's one of the first things that they talked about in Far From Home was they had pictures that were like the people who were snapped away did not change, but the people who didn't snap away
Mhm.
are now way older.
Right.
And so they really played into that with a character, Brad, who was a whiny ninth grader not ninth grader, whiny middle schooler who now is in high school with them. So he's now competing with Peter Parker. And Peter's just like what are you doing? Like, you were here, but I understand that, but like I was snapped away. Let me have my chance with this girl.
Right, and spoiler alert, I did not see Spider-Man Far
Yes,
From Home.
so he may not be able to talk as much on this, but I just watched it today, so it's very fresh in my mind.
Anything else about Avengers Endgame before we formally switch over? It was good, and if you haven't seen it yet, do it.
Yeah, I mean, you're missing out on a lot. And it's not even something... You would have to watch Infinity War at least to understand it, but I don't think you need to necessarily watch everything.
Nope.
As long as you know that, like, Iron Man is a pinnacle character, and all of them are, like, important.
Which you would pick up in Infinity War if you watched that before.
Yes.
Also, you should watch Thor Ragnarok, because that's just a good movie.
Yes. And it leads directly into it.
Right, exactly.
So if you really want to get all of the scenes of Infinity War and Endgame, you want to start with Thor Ragnarok, then go into Infinity War, then go into Endgame.
Yeah. Great. And then after Avengers Endgame, Spider-Man
Far From Home. And that one, it talks directly about, like, where do we go now? Not just as a world, but also as the Avengers. Because Spider-Man is questioned at the beginning. He's like, everyone's asking him, like, are you the new head Avenger? Are you going to be the new Iron Man? How are you going to react to this? And he starts freaking out, and he has a panic attack and just leaves. Which makes sense, because that's a big...
He's 15 years old.
Yeah, he's 15 years old. That's a big question to ask a kid.
Right.
And then as the movie goes on, he realizes that, like, Iron Man would not have done what he did if he didn't know that Peter was going to be there when he died. And they really show Peter, like, almost like a coming of age story.
Oh, that's cool.
Because he's realizing, like, I am an Avenger. I can do this. Like, I can do more than just be a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. And so that's a good, like, closeout to where the next, like, 10 or whatever years of the Avengers movies will
Maybe. Except, I didn't see this movie, but I do know that controversially, Sony and Marvel have seemed to split as of right now. So who knows? Maybe there is no more closure on this Spider-Man. Maybe he goes back to being just friendly in neighborhood.
I mean,
adjacent.
It's completely possible, but with Tom Holland staying with Marvel and everything, Sony's going to have to reboot, which is not going to be good for anyone, and no one's going to be happy with that.
Yeah, no one's going to be happy with a fourth iteration of Spider-Man, especially when they're in the throes of arguably the best one.
Yes,
so far, although Tobey Maguire
the
was
most
that
comic
guy,
book accurate.
Yeah, that's fair too.
Yes, not necessarily, because when people think of Spider-Man, you think, like, who did I grow up watching? It's Tobey Maguire for most of the people watching.
And then you forget about Andrew Garfield because those were bad.
Yeah, the first one wasn't terrible. They had some good swinging scenes, and he had a good suit, and that was all. That's all you got from those ones.
Yeah, they had a good trailer. That's what they had.
Yeah. But then other than that, I mean, you really gotta admire the way that Marvel has gone with Spider-Man, and but the next movie we're gonna be talking about, because we gotta keep this thing going, is How to Train Your Dragon 3.
Woo!
One of how did you say it earlier about
the greatest, like, trilogy set of movies that I think exists. Not even,
but the most underrated.
But also the most underrated.
Yes.
Because when I said that, probably all of you who were watching, all of you, were thinking to yourselves, this guy's crazy. But go back and watch 1, 2, and 3. It's the perfect trilogy.
And if you haven't watched them because they're too childish,
you're a fool.
Then get younger and watch them.
Embrace your inner child.
Embrace your inner child and go watch them, because they're fun for all ages.
But for those of you who have seen the first two at least,
you know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
You understand that it's great.
Yeah. And the third one, now I'm hesitant to even spoil it. I don't want to ruin it, but it perfectly wraps up the series for both not just Toothless the Dragon, but also all of the main, like, human characters as well. I feel like they all come to a conclusion that's like, a happy ending, so to speak, but not in like a cheesy.
Everyone lives happily
everyone
ever after type thing.
kumbaya's way. Like it's in
It's like everyone gets what's best for them in the end.
It's like practical resolution versus fantasy resolution. Fantastical. Is that a word?
Fantastical?
Fantastical is a better word than what I'm trying to say. But yeah, How to Train Your Dragon 3.
Yeah, definitely watch it. It's
I cried.
And I also cried. Especially during the ending scene where
my gosh!
where everyone's grown up and everything.
It's too good.
If you want to see the video that I did on the whole movie, I dive in deeper with it without trying to spoil it too much. But go watch it. It will be in the description below. All right, and close out our movie so far, Hobbs and Shaw. It's the first non-Fast and Furious movie.
Yes, technically it is a Fast and Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw as a spin-off versus a Fast and Furious canonical movie.
Same characters, not in the storyline.
Yep, correct. And I like this pick as well from the list of movies that we looked at because neither of us actually saw this movie. But my theory is that you don't need to see this movie. You just need to watch the trailer a few times.
It explains it all, and all of their movies are the same in that the good guy wins.
And they do really cool stuff, all of which are showcased in the trailer. You see The Rock do his haka.
And of course he's in a helicopter at some point.
Yeah, he's holding a helicopter with his arms. Like he's literally holding a chain and pulling a helicopter down.
Which makes sense. I mean, that's just logical human behavior.
Right. But I feel like The Rock could do that in real life.
Yeah, probably. I mean, he's The Rock.
Yeah, but I feel like...
What can he do?
Yeah, if you love the Fast and Furious movies, you probably like this movie.
Yeah, no, if you like movies that are like that are like spin-off movies and things like that, I mean, go ahead and watch it. Yeah. It's not a terrible movie, I'm sure.
I've heard good things.
Yeah. If you just like that action sequences, and go watch it. But also don't blame us if you don't like it.
Yeah, because we actually didn't see it.
All right, so we're gonna go right into the coming out soon movies. These are the movies that are coming up in 2019 that you should keep your eyes out for, because they're coming at you. So we're going to start with Joker, then go into Zombieland 2, which is coming out much later in the year, Frozen 2, and Jumanji: The Next Level. Alright, so first Joker. It's coming out in like a week or two. It's like in early October.
Yep.
And so that is the telling of how the Joker becomes the Joker. And it is played by Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah.
One of the coolest names in Hollywood, I gotta say.
Yeah.
And it tells the story of the Joker, but not based on comic book stuff. They even pushed away the comic books and said, here is our story, let's throw him into society and have him become the Joker. Much more realistic.
Yeah, it feels like a good complement to like the Joker side of the Dark Knight trilogy, whereas they like took these things from the comics and were like, okay, we're gonna darken them up, make them real world, gritty, like more action movie type like appeal to it than comic booky.
Yeah, because in the comic books he's like, I mean, obviously like being abused by your parents, like that is a real world thing, like that's not abnormal. Well, it is abnormal, but it's not like
it's not like Superman can fly.
Yeah. And in the even older versions of the comic books, he would be thrown into like a big pool of acid, and that's just not logical in any way.
That's why he had to wear the makeup to cover up his burns or whatever.
And in the Jack Nicholson portrayed him as just being someone that fell into acid and was forced to always be smiling. Yeah. Which again, what type of acid would do that? And so this one is a much more realistic one. I'm pretty sure the whole storyline is just that he gets bullied into becoming a psychopath who starts a movement. From the trailers, but who knows?
And I know that like Joaquin Phoenix has had a storied past of being like a whatever quote unquote like Hollywood outcast. Like he's had a lot of trouble in his life. So I think I read something like an interview that was saying that he feels like strongly about this role because he sees himself a lot in maybe not the like the evil part of the Joker, but in like the like was treated like poorly early on, like had to overcome that adversity, and while he didn't turn it into becoming like a super villain, I feel like Joaquin Phoenix to me feels like a good
similar backstories, not the same outcomes.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
A more positive outcome of the Joker's
yes.
backstory.
It's if I were treated like this, would I turn out like Joaquin Phoenix or like the Joker?
Right.
And yeah.
Exactly. So you get to see one guy play the other guy.
Yes.
Pretty crazy.
Next is Zombieland. Zombieland Double Tap is the name of it. And for those of you who don't know, that was one of the rules of Zombieland is that if you ever shoot a zombie, you gotta walk up to it and shoot it again. Because double tap. So just in case if it's not dead, shoot it again.
That was just like their mantra, or is it an actual like?
Well, the main guy, he.
Woody Harrelson's character?
No, the other one's the main. What's his name?
The guy from the Facebook.
The guy who
movie.
plays Lex Luthor.
I don't know.
Nope.
I can't think of his name.
If you know the name, comment it. We can't remember.
What other movie is in?
It's on the tip of my tongue. I can't.
The nerdy looking guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the guy he's in the Facebook movie.
I haven't seen the Facebook movie.
Well, he's in the one about the magicians.
Yeah.
Now You See Me.
Yeah.
Okay, great. That guy. Now we're all talking about the same.
Yes,
people
we know we can picture him in our heads, but we can't think of the person.
I'm gonna look it up. Keep talking.
And so he had a like list of rules for Zombieland. And that's how the whole movie opens up. He's like explaining what Zombieland is, and then he says, there are some rules you gotta follow. And he talks through all these rules, and one of them was double tap. And throughout the first one, he starts to relax. Did you get it?
Jesse Eisenberg.
There it is. So he has like all these rules, and he's like, I gotta always wear my seatbelt. I gotta never go to the bathroom in public bathrooms. Always use like a house bathroom, like break into a house if you need to. And so he has all these rules, and then he meets Woody Harrelson, and he's like, hey, I got these rules, and he's like, nah. No, we're not gonna do the rule thing.
Where does this? Do you know where the second one is picking up from?
I think it picks up right after it, because the ending of the first one is they had just made it to an amusement park, and they have to fight off this huge horde of zombies, and then Woody Harrelson's character finally gets his Twinkies, because that's what he's after the entire movie, and then they get into a car and drive off into the sunset.
Nice.
Sunset of Zombieland.
The sunset of Zombieland.
And so I think this one just picks up right after that. They meet more people, more survivors, and yeah, so I think it's gonna be a really good movie. I've heard interviews with the cast where they say that it could be a standalone movie. That it's not like you have to watch the first one in order to watch the second one. That it's just a great movie. It's a funny movie, and they take a really
like zombie comedies.
Yes,
zombies. Yeah. There you go. That's for you.
Yeah. Watch that. Frozen 2. This one is also a big one because Frozen.
Gosh, I'm excited for
Frozen was such a good movie.
Yeah.
It was like it's still sung to this day. Let It Go is still a popular song that people play.
Yeah. I almost think that people are going to be too excited for Frozen 2. And
it might not.
And there's no way it could ever meet expectations.
Yeah.
Like it almost seemed in the first trailer that they dropped, it seemed dark.
Yeah, almost. It seems like a darker version that continues the story.
Like, are they hoping that the kids who were like little when the first one came out, which was what, now 5 years ago?
At least.
So it's like now they're like old, like in middle school or high school, and
now they're like ready for something.
You got it. You all.
Is it gonna be like a PG-13 Frozen?
That would be nuts, but I doubt it because they still have to also appeal to the young kids.
And they're Disney, and it's a cartoon, so you can't really get a PG-13 Disney cartoon.
But because it's Disney and it's probably one of their bigger things that they're releasing as far as like the animation front, it's pretty hush hush as to like what the general like plot is. It's like I know that they're on another quest, to find something.
I think Anna gets powers, right? Isn't that a part of it?
I don't know.
Maybe that was a fan theory, but I've heard somewhere that Anna gets like warm powers or something like that.
Whoa,
where she's
fire and ice.
Where she's like able to, I guess, like warm people's hearts. So she like counterbalances that.
Oh.
So that Anna doesn't, or so Elsa doesn't like explode in ice.
Yeah.
Anna like can soothe her and
Gotcha.
like can calm down her ice powers or something like that. I don't know if I heard that from like a reliable source or anything, so don't take my word for it. But that might be something you're looking forward to.
But I do know I'm probably gonna go see Frozen 2 when it comes out. I
Yes.
think that's in November
like
though,
opening,
so you got time.
opening night.
You got time.
Opening night.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I'm gonna go get in line now.
Yeah. I'm just gonna camp out until.
Yeah. Last one.
Last one, Jumanji: The Next Level. So for those of you that don't know, this is the third one in the series. The first one was Jumanji. The second one is Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle, and this one is Jumanji: The Next Level. The first one is really old. Well, not really old, but old enough that it was before my time.
It's VHS old.
Yes. Robin Williams old. R.I.P. And so it's the continuation of that. Isn't the whole idea that like there's a glitch in it or something?
In the first game? In the first movie?
No. The first movie,
the game comes to life.
Game,
yeah.
And every time something would like you'd roll the dice, move your piece, and then every time something would happen on there, it would say that like until you finish the game, this is going to continue to happen. So they would have like lions that came out, man-eating plants that come out, Robin Williams that comes out.
Yep.
And then the second one is a video game that you get trapped in.
It's like an old like Nintendo 64 looking
and
thing.
you get sucked into it, and then you just stay in there until you save Jumanji.
Yep.
And then I don't quite know what the idea for this next one is.
Yeah.
I think it's just the same idea, but I think there's a glitch in it somehow. I think that there's like something wrong with Jumanji that makes everything try to kill you more than in the first one.
Yeah, even just based on the title, it seems like somehow like if when you beat the game, it restarts you next time you play. Added like in a new like challenge for Jumanji.
But the interesting thing is that you're gonna have two old people, Danny DeVito and I don't know the other guy, but Danny DeVito is one of them. He plays a grandpa, and then there's another grandpa, and they both get sucked into the game and end up playing as Dwayne Johnson. So he has another movie in 2019.
See, go look at The Rock movies. That's what you want.
And it's a never-ending list.
Yeah.
He makes at least 3 a year. So.
Yeah. So you're still gonna have somebody getting sucked into the game, and then you get to watch Jack Black, The Rock, Kevin Hart, and
same person that plays Nebula.
Yeah, it's like it's either Jillian somebody or her last name starts with a G. Can't remember. I think Karen Gillian. Karen Gillian.
Yes,
there it is.
Karen Gillian.
I thought her first name was Gillian. That's weird.
Karen Gillian.
But they get to be actors pretending to be video game characters with old people stuck in their bodies, right? Old people stuck as video game characters. There's 3 iterations to their acting levels.
They're playing video game characters who are being played by actors.
Yeah, one of whom is Danny DeVito.
Yes. So it's Danny DeVito.
I can only imagine that Karen Gillian is going to be Danny DeVito.
I think Dwayne Johnson, actually.
Oh, wait, really?
Yeah, I think Dwayne Johnson is Danny DeVito. And then the other old guy is played by either Kevin Hart or the other guy. But then the other 2 people that come into it are Fridge, the person that was originally in the movie, and he still plays Kevin Hart, I think.
Okay.
And then I think Jack Black plays the other old guy.
Okay.
And then
your guy who Karen Gillian originally was?
Karen Gillian was a girl. She was the nerdy girl.
Oh, right.
There was the
the main guy was The Rock.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's still going to be funny. There's going to be actors acting as actors, or something like that. It's never ending. It's Inception with acting.
Wow. But yeah.
Yeah, so that should be a good movie. If it is just as funny as the first one, then it should be fine.
I don't think that comes out till like Christmas.
Yeah. So I think that one and Zombieland are both coming out in like December, and then Joker's in October, and Frozen is in November. You said, right?
Yeah. There you go. You got the next few months planned out.
Yeah. You know what you're gonna be doing for the next few months. So, yeah, that's all we got talked about today. It has been another edition to FilmReal. I'm Luke.
And I'm Nick.
And we will see you guys next week.